partnership with Intel, Acer Predator, DHL,
Good evening, welcome on in. It is ESL Challenger. It is Cup number 2 of Oceania for season number 51, and we have made it all the way through to the grand final day. SemperFi and Rooster is our matchup for this evening. We've got Elvish Guy back once again, as per usual, and looking forward to getting stuck into something a little same but different, Pilsky. It feels like we've gone back 6 months because we get another SemperFi versus Rooster grand final, but this one has a very different feel to it.
Yeah, I think we were kind of discussing it going into defrag and things like that, that I believe we were talking about some of the Rooster players and Rooster being a team that might have pushed some of the top teams last year, but that was a very different roster compared to what they're running in with this time around. I've seen Rooster play SemperFi earlier on in this ECL Cup, and it did not go well for them. 13-4, 13-5, 2-0 in favor of SemperFi. So if that's anything to go by, then this is probably going to be a pretty stompy grand final.
Yeah, potentially. But, you know, I think we probably would have said the same thing going into yesterday's match with Rooster versus Ground Zero. And, you know, the history that Ground Zero has got against Rooster looking pretty good. We would have thought maybe it would be Ground Zero that would make it through to that grand final. But stranger things have happened in the past, and maybe could still happen again here in the future. Rooster picking that one up 2-1 over Ground Zero. They get themselves a rematch of their upper bracket semi-final against SemperFi. But yeah, it does bear mentioning that that was a fairly one-sided game for SemperFi, and generally speaking, most of the games that they've played in this bracket have been pretty one-sided, with the exception of that game against Motley Crew, which went 2-1, and that one map that Motley Crew was able to pick up, I think, was largely off the back of ASAP, almost 30 bomb, might have even been a 30 bomb, as he was sort of hanging out in that roster. So maybe that's a bit of an outlier. Not necessarily going to be expecting that from any of the other teams in Oceania. So be interested to see how things do go in this grand final. Obviously, coming into it, we're very much expecting this team on your screen to be the heavy favorites. And they have a lot to play for here, Pilsky. It's not necessarily so much about winning this cup, per se. Obviously, that's nice, but it's very, very important for them to be maintaining their VRS position. And even though they won't get many points out of a win here, I think it's actually just 6 points. Those 6 points could literally be the difference between them making the major and not, given how close it is for a team like SemperFi at the moment. So very, very, very important that they don't drop this match.
Yeah, if they drop it, I mean, I think it's like a -25, which actually, in such a tight race, you know, 25, 50 points, when you all stack it up together, if you lose to an underdog or two, that could actually make the difference between you making the top 5 and making it into the major and not making it. Rooster are the challengers coming up from the lower bracket, having bested Ground Zero last night in an overtime thriller. By virtue partly of having 5 players connected to the server consistently, although to be fair, Skull Hunter did drop out as well at one point. Rooster here, you had Juices, he went kind of crazy last night. He is by far the standout for this roster, and look, Chelios is right up there with him, but even Chelios, as well as the rest of the boys, can all be super up and down. This is a very inconsistent roster on an individual basis, but when the team is clicking, they're actually pretty bloody annoying to play against. I'd imagine even for a team like SemperFi, you know, I could see Rooster, if they hit their A game, SemperFi are a little complacent. They could push them a little bit. I'm not super confident they're going to win a best-of-3 series regardless, but I trust Rooster to at least push them on a map or steal a map away, something like that, if they're really feeling it today.
Yeah, I mean, that's not an unreasonable take. I think the caveat, the important part of that phrase, though, is if they're feeling it today, because, again, just as easily this Rooster team could get wiped the floor with, as we saw in the previous matchup between these two teams. It was 13-4 and 13-5, so very, very one-sided maps favoring SemperFi in that matchup. And yeah, I kind of agree in the sense that Rooster's a good enough team to do a bit of damage, but they do have to be on, and I think at this point, you know, the consistency which we can expect from this lineup probably hasn't quite reached its full peak, full potential just yet. I think they're still kind of working through a lot as a team. They're still a very fresh team, so I don't know that we're necessarily going to be getting the best of Rooster over the course of an entire best of 3. Sure, could we get it on a map? Should we get it on a half? Potentially, yes. But over the course of an entire best of 3, I think it's going to be a tough one to argue. And certainly for SemperFi coming in with the, the pressure, I suppose, around the major, but also the experience that they've got, I'm sure that they're going to be extremely locked in for this matchup. And so they'll be out the gates very, very hot tonight.
Yeah, having a look at the vetoes here. So let's cast our mind back to the upper bracket game that you got between these two teams and what maps we ended up seeing. HNO Overpass were both of the bans last time around, so nothing changing there. Nuke being the pick, so this was actually last banned by SemperFi when choosing between Nuke and Inferno. They preferred Inferno. Rooster have opted to change up the maps a little bit and pick Nuke to have a little bit of a different look on in. And Mirage picked up by SemperFi with Dust 2 as the decider. So last time, Mirage and Dust 2 were the opening 2 maps. Dust 2 into Mirage, Dust 2 selected by Rooster. It was 13-5, 13-4 in favor of SemperFi. So in at least 2 out of the 3 maps in the pool, the second and the third, SemperFi have absolutely slapped Rooster earlier on in this tournament, and Rooster are hoping with this Nuke pick that something will change.
All right, let's see how this one goes as we charge our way forward into the pistol round. Dualies in hand for Shady. He's going to be very quickly dropping into the A site. Might not get to use them early on in the piece because a lot of this hit is headed toward outer. Wants to take a fight into Hut and gets the better of Juices. So, aims the opening first kill for SemperFi.
Yeah, waterfall smoke thrown out by Rooster. Chelios given a P250 and always quite deadly with it. Takes the head off of Keen to equalize the numbers now. Annex still with a kit in play and flash up over the top sends a couple of the T's into Annex. The crossfire between CT Vet and Hut looked pretty strong but gets dismantled pretty quickly. Shady on for a kill inside of Hut as well. They know exactly where he is, but he's still making this interesting into the one-on-one now. And with the bomb dropped in the open, Reckons has to challenge and has to win it, and he does. Big T pistol picked up by Rooster on their map pick, and these are the kind of edges that they're going to need if they're going to cause an upset tonight.
Yeah, that is a crazy round to win for Rooster. Not only do they start a player down, but they get spotted on the way into Annex as well, into a crossfire setup that just looks unbreakable, and somehow they get through it. I don't even know what to say, but yeah, that's a bit of Rooster magic right there. Let's see if they can back it up with any more over, again, a consistent basis in this half. They should get it done in this round. It's not really much of an investment from SemperFi at all. But Rooster are definitely going to need more than just a pistol to win a match against SemperFi. But they're making that story up about a potential upset tonight. It makes it a little bit more interesting if things start well here for Rooster.
Oh, how's it going unchecked though? Skull didn't even have head armor. He is punished for his purchasing patterns. The molly into heaven. Over on backside, Rooster still very much favored to win this 3-on-2, but they can't afford to lose another gun here. What is that Galil skin, by the way?
Who's one? Who's?
Chelios.
I have to see it.
Please show us Chelios. Outrageous. He has a pretty decent chance of getting an exit here.
I think you're right. Maybe he'll get the Galil.
What's he done?
Oh.
There it is. He's got the Galil skin. Oh, he's put it to good use as well. Oh, Rooster, that got way too expensive. Records goes down with the bomb.
Yeah.
Nothing but USPs brought in from SemperFi, and they take every gun away from Rooster in the anti-eco.
Actually, they have a Zeus.
Right.
You were paying
You're funny,
attention.
do you, mate?
No, I'm serious.
Yeah, you would not have said that to me on LAN at D-Frag.
Yeah?
You would not.
Try me.
Yeah. We'd get in a bit of a scrap, mate. Me and you. Look, it's getting old now. Still somehow funny to me. Progression smoke coming out here for Reckons. He's trying to take a little space on outside, and Chelios has thrown him a couple of wall smokes to help him at least get across or make the CTs a little bit worried that that might be the case. And Rooster very much looking for a ramps pop here.
Happy to wait a little bit longer, it would seem. Shift 4 coming through. It might not necessarily be a pop, perhaps just a contact play. Molly out. Dean will go down. One more player to find, and that is easily dealt with by Skull Hunter. So far so good for Rooster. Win the pistol, they win the anti-eco, though they make it expensive. But if they can manage to slide together this first gun round again, things are looking on the up and up for Rooster.
SemperFi kind of joining forces over towards ramp room here. Skull juggling an orb into the site. Wants to try to give maybe ADK a gun, but he's going to tuck over towards Dark, so not interested in picking that one up. Nice opening duel that goes the way of Hazard. Little bit of a messy spray from Chelios, but Skull is the one taking over this round. 3 for him, and now a pretty untenable 1-on-2 for Shady. Dodges the flash nicely, but Rooster playing quite well together, looking quite locked in tonight, Jordan. I love the way that Reckons just peeks off of that that flash from ADK and just takes the duel before you even get into a 1-on-1. Like, that's the kind of no-fear play that you want to see tonight from Rooster. You don't want to see Reckons hide in double doors and, oh, maybe I'll play the bomb. Hopefully he's going to tap it. I'm going to catch him off guard. No, just go and fight the bloke in the open and win the duel.
A little bit of a force through here from SemperFi. Half-buy more so than anything else. Pistols and a bit of util and a bit of armor. Seeming to help them out too much. Juices having found that entry onto Hazard in Annex, but a spam, I guess, through the smoke.
Rooster's on a hot start here. How much can they keep this up consistently across the series, though? Because it's all good to get on a roll on the T side, although they have already faced a little bit of adversity, having lost all the guns to the pistols earlier. Need to get through this anti-eco a little cleaner.
Well, that might not be the ideal play, but it's going to work out for now. It's getting a bit expensive here and a little bit scary with Reckons and Juices both low. Bombs dropped at Secret. And there's just no map control either for Rooster. They are feeling a bit awkward about things here.
Yeah. Molly onto the bomb just to try to secure it here for Reckons. He's quite low on HP. Addict's lurking around lowers. I think you had Savage go and take lobby control, so that's going to be a pretty annoying position to deal with for the T's if they end up pivoting back into uppers, and that does seem like what they're going for. Keen's going to join up with him as well.
You really get the sense that at some point, SemperFi are going to strike, right? Like, they've been so threatening in a lot of these rounds already, and this is another example of it. It really wouldn't surprise me to see this round go their way. Addict could get it done here with a couple of well-placed shots. If he finds 1 or 2, then that's going to be round over. 10 seconds. I mean, they've got to go. Chell gets the important kill onto Addict. They will just about have time to get into the site for a plant. Good coverage on Juices. Savage has been hurt. Mac 10 will not get the job done. That was well negotiated in the end by Rooster, but way too scary for my liking.
Yeah, pretty close for comfort. But 3 guns retained on the T side here. 4-0 for Rooster. This new pick has started off quite well for them. Good stuff changing up the veto. Savage and Addict yet to get on the board here. Haven't really been able to have too much impact, but that can happen sometimes on the CT side. I mean, you play the pistol in like 1 gun round. The rest of the time, you've probably got a pistol. Versus rifles. Being back on the AWP here. Expecting that ramp pressure earlier on. Once again, it's quick outside smokes from Rooster.
Okay.
Oh, Chell. Mid-air, headshot onto Shady on Annex drop. That is outrageous.
It's gone down to Keen. So all's fair in the end. We're back to 4-on-4. And sort of slowed Rooster down, but it certainly hasn't slowed SemperFi down all that much. Addict with that push into Trophy Room will catch Juices, and Reckons will also fall. It's been, again, brewing for a little while. It's felt like SemperFi have been close to getting around here and there, but this surely is the one that they get over the line. Oh, ooh, maybe not. It's a good kill from Skull. Savage is low. Everybody else is tagged. They get down to B and they get a plant. This is a very winnable 2-on-3.
Savage is pretty low. Smoke goes over onto double doors and Skull low HP on the site. Really has to just kind of cause enough of a distraction for ADK to clutch. Put on a vintage performance that we've seen from him in the past. Flank coming in through Megaton from Keen, but dealt with well by ADK. That could be a kill that changes things a little bit.
No.
Oh, the gun model was in the way for Hazard. This has fallen apart for SemperFi, unfortunately. And Rooster have stolen another round with some classic Rooster magic.
Not able to buy a round here, apparently, for SemperFi. Like, this is probably the third round, which it's looked like they could or should win. And it's still not gone their way. So, nice recovery in the 2-on-3 from ADK and Skull. And all of a sudden, scoreline's going to be 5-0. And, you know, I know it's early days, right? Like, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but this is the kind of scoreline that is going to have you a little bit worried if you're a SemperFi fan, certainly. And perhaps a little more worried if you're a SemperFi player as well. I wonder if this is, like, getting into the back of your mind already.
Yep. You lose this game, minus 25 on the VRS. You're sitting in the top 5, but not by a lot, guys. What is it, like 50 points between 4th and 5th right now?
Yep.
That's like one good series win.
And still another tournament or two to play over in China. The Gankui Cup is going to be the big one. There's a Euclidean Pinnacle of Battle happening as well. So a lot of the Chinese teams taking part in one or both of those tournaments. As far as I know, SemperFi is also taking part in the Gankui Cup, but you know, presumably they're playing it from Australia. I think they're in Perth at the moment, I saw. So that'll give them slightly better ping, but you know, assuming that they perform to the level which they had previously in these Asia tournaments, which would be, I would say, middling to poor, there's a good chance they're going to drop some points to some of their close competitors in that Gankui Cup. So, can't afford to drop any here.
Should be the easy win in theory.
Yeah.
Straight out into Yard. Skull making his way down Secret, but Shady, aggressive and unchecked. Can Reckons right the wrong in the meantime. I mean, that's cracking entries from denial of the lobby aggression. Rooster were just posted up and ready. And punished SemperFi as soon as they put themselves on the front foot.
They've forgotten about the bomb. Shady is behind them. Uh-oh. This could be multiple kills for Shady, and it is. So a little gap found. Chelios is going to go looking for more, and this round is slipping away from Rooster. They were in the pole position to just keep grinding away, and now it's all down to Reckons. He's to win the 1v1 against Addict, and he knows roughly where he is, but an unfavorable duel.
Oh.
Addict will win it. 5-1. SemperFi finally get themselves around.
And that's not a round you wanted to lose as Rooster. I mean, money was not great on Shell and Skull Hunter. Both of them will be down to about 2k. So, minimum loss bonus coming in on the T side here. Good news is, only Addict surviving. The money is not much better for SemperFi. At least they have the better end of the loss bonus, though, if they don't take the dub here. Rooster have rubbed all their pennies together and come up with a 2-rifle buy, handful of pistols. Got to be pretty clever about how they approach this one. Again, they've invested quite a bit of what little utility that they have on creating some wall of outside smokes, but that is it. There are no more smokes in this round for the T side. Reckon's going to be sent across. HG's breaking the smoke. You can see the rest of Rooster very tentative about whether they should be crossing here.
Well, day doesn't get any easier apparently for SemperFi. They're going to really be made to work for these rounds. JD's gone down early here. And a bit of space being given to Rooster as they work their way down Secret. No defense on that B-bomb site just yet.
It's a big heavy hitter out of the equation for SemperFi. How much do you put into a round like this defending lowers? Because, you know, if you lose an opening pick early on, you might consider it a save, but they are committed to try and hold this one. Both Addict and Keen looking to hold this site down, and that is a beautiful spray down from Keen as they bust their way out Decon. Addict joins him as well. It's all down to Skull, pressure being applied, but Savage is there to clean up the scraps. And look, there was some promise there from Rooster when they found that pick on outside, but I felt like they took a little bit too long to get organized, and some great rotations from SemperFi make the difference.
Yeah, SemperFi starting to claw their way back into this match. Money poor for Rooster. There should be 3 on the trot for SemperFi, and they'll start to relieve some of that pressure, feel a little bit more comfortable, get underway.
Yeah, I mean, the anti-eco versus the pistol should be pretty clean here, and even after this round, especially if Rooster doesn't get a plant, like, they're not going to have much to work with in the next round either, especially when it comes to util. Ooh. Oh! Skull is on one today. If only he could strafe.
Well, As with the MP5, quite low, but the grenade will soften the targets. In fact, it'll actually finish Skull off. There's another one there from Savage just to try and have a bit of a peek out behind it. And they will make short work of what was not really much of an outers hit, but at least an attempt to do something from Rooster.
The whole team from SemperFi just swung outside together. Said, look, let's just murk anybody in yard. We can tackle the rest of the map later. Buy back in now for Rooster. Definitely having to skip a couple of grenades here. 80k down to a Galil. Money building up for SemperFi now. 4 players with about 3k plus. This is where they can start to build themselves the CT side that they kind of lacked in the opening 8. Or opening 5, rather.
A more patient approach this time around from Rooster. Quite a quick T side so far in this half, which has been, I think, a bit antithetical to the style that Chelios usually brings as an in-game leader. Now that things have maybe started to go a little worse, a little more poorly, they may default back to that slower style.
Reckons is on that outside lurk, and Chell looks like he's going to throw him a wall of smokes. In fact, both of them invest 2 more smokes towards outside to try to find Reckons a way to cross into secret or even just create enough pressure to cause a rotation from the CTs. The rest of Rooster grouped up, trying to go for this lobby take. It's Reckons v Shady on outside.
Three seconds. Rooster have got to go. And that kill from Keen is not going to make life any easier. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and you're going to have to decide where you want to end up here as Rooster. And they're trying to enter the site with 10 seconds left on the clock. Surely this can't go well. It does, in fact. They find themselves a quick couple of kills, but Plant's going to be denied. And that is a very nice round in the end from Keen. A double kill with the AWP to finish it off. And yeah, I mean, that's the problem. Like, Rooster, they get into the side. If they had another 5 seconds, they might have been able to plant safe, but they didn't.
You can see just a pure panic, and Skull's planting, and Juices just has to hold everything.
Yeah.
You could see him just wiggling his crosshair around. He looks at Heaven, he looks at Heart. There's a guy running up the vent. Oh, is he going to peek me from Annex? There's just too much for him to do there, unfortunately. And Rooster, despite some heroic entries into the upper site, the Latvians are giving them some serious issues right now.
Oh, well, this has gone from quite a solid start for Rooster to a bit of nothing in the last 5 rounds. Should be 5 in a row here for SemperFi to get them back on the horse.
Looking better and better. 5 in reply on the CT side after the 5 from Rooster. If they weren't feeling confident initially, they certainly are now. Change up from Rooster here is to put Chelios on the AWP. I think Skull has had to forego head armor to be able to afford that, so his M4s could give him some problems.
So again, a nice shot from Keen. He's really putting together a nice CT side here with the AWP. He's also the kind of player that, you know, when he's on, he can really take the game away from you. He's got a very aggressive style, likes to be in control, be in the fight.
Yeah. I mean, that game, Inferno game against Thunder, in the upper final, I think it was, of the D-Track wildcard, that was that perfect King game. Shady, another Latvian threat here for SemperFi. Dispatching of 2 on outside. He's been pretty fantastic this game as well. And Shell, not much for him to do. A minute left and he's lost every single other member of the team. And if he loses this AWP here, it's not going to be something he's going to be able to replace in round number 12.
Don't know that he's going to get to hold on to it for 45 seconds. SemperFi's money's healthy enough that at some point they're looking for it. Shady has now spotted him. This grenade will do the job.
Obi.
Not quite.
Oh.
Shady lives to fight another day, but how long will that last? Probably not very. 6-5. SemperFi take the lead. 6 on the trot now.
No bomb plant. And you see Shell, Skull, Reckon, Sword down to 3.4. Gonna have to cut some corners in terms of the buy somewhere. And that is a lot of Galils and a Mac 10. Not the most threatening buy into round number 12. Starting to feel like Rooster are already running out of steam after a hot start. What will they come up with now?
Play into the A site this time around from Rooster is once again going to have the door slammed shut in his face. Like util up from SemperFi. Rooster can't get out and they lose Chell, and now Reckons on outer as well. The round starting to fall apart. Keen, we test it again, and this time comes off second best, but he's still alive.
Yeah, they don't manage to chase him down. Shady, that is a nasty off angle in hell. Finally cleaned up by Juices, but this is not map control that necessarily troubles SemperFi at the moment. They know where both of the last two Rooster players are, and they're just holding all the exits.
Yep. He's stuck. Juices and 80k will need to work a bit of a miracle to get out of this one. We have Savage already down toward B as well, so it's not as if they're going to get into the B site for free either. Now been spotted out as well. It's going to start to draw a bit of a rotation from the rest of the SemperFi players. Savage tries to make a move and goes straight into the headshot from 80k. The piece of the puzzle slowly being put together here by Rooster. I'm sure the Keen will be able to deny this bomb plan. Does get out on the line and deals with 80k, who was trying to provide some coverage. So this is all on the shoulders of Juices, and usually he's pretty sharp, but in this instance, not able to land the spray. And so it will be a 7.5 for SemperFi. It's a great recovery, considering they were down at 5-0. And final here of the ECL OCE Cup number 2 underway. It's good for SemperFi. Short halftime break. Back with the second cup. Well, it was a good start to the map for Rooster, but unfortunately didn't really amount to a whole lot in the end. 5-0 to a 7-5 deficit in the end. SemperFi looking pretty good after they ended that first half. I think scoreline-wise, you'd probably still say that this is a match that could go either way, but just the momentum that SemperFi seem to have gained now is making it hard for me to imagine that it's going to go any other way than SemperFi.
Yeah, kind of looking that way, but let's see what Rooster have on this CT side. An already early fight inside of Squeaky Door, but this is where all of the boys are swinging outside. Straight into Secret now. SemperFi making no secrets about where they're going to be making their way into the B site.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like Rooster have fully cottoned onto that. I mean, they've obviously taken this lobby control. Keen lets them pass and claims ADK. Maybe going to get juices here as well. He does. Keen's just having an absolute blinder of a map. So Rooster a little bit too slow to react. SemperFi get the plant down. They find themselves with a 2-on-4. Keen is just doing whatever he wants. This guy has no chill. He does not care. He's actually also taking a 1v2 at the moment. Gets some help from Hazard in the end. That is pissed around for SemperFi. So continues to go poorly for Rooster after a stellar start. Yeah. He's toying with them. Footsteps going to be heard by the player in Warehouse. A couple of players sending it down Secret. Not committing to it just yet. SemperFi take it a little bit slower this time around. They're still not sure exactly what they're going to be up against in this round in terms of investment.
Waiting for Rooster to go for a push somewhere. Doors in lowers have been blown wide open, so see if that's something that goes overlooked for SemperFi. Not the kind of situation that you run into too often. Molly to the stairs. Just util pressure on lowers here for SemperFi while they'll hold for any kind of reaction from Rooster in other parts of the map.
So instead he wins the race. A couple players to clear out on this side, and those 5-7s can be so deadly. It's not the B side that SemperFi are really worried about at the moment. Trying to make their entry happen on A. That's a good kill onto ADK, but they still are going to need to pick up Reckons, who does drop the bomb carrier. Shady may be missing the memo for a second there, but will be covered nicely by Addict. Plant's going down. All good in the end. 3-on-3 for the post plant though. Not unwinnable. A good shot there from Chell. Might have made a big difference, but he only gets the body tag onto Shady, and so will lose his life as a result. Both Skull and Juices smoked off here in Annex. I find it very difficult to have any influence on this round.
Yeah, I think you just save here. Skull can hand the pistol to someone else next round, so... Well, not anymore. Savage quick on the lobby exit. I don't think Skull was quite ready for that pace. And Juice is going to save over the 5-7. This is 9 in a row now for SemperFi, half to half. Just have not been faltered once they locked in.
Terrorists win.
So, investment from Rooster in the previous round means there's not much here. Smoke for Skull. Yep. P250. 7 out for Juices, bit of armor there, but really nothing to write home about.
I mean, this game is such a Rooster game. Because, like, even in the game yesterday against Ground Zero, like, look at how the first 2 maps went, you know? When Rooster are on, it's great. It looks like they might be able to beat any of the teams domestically. But when they go missing, then they get 13 forward right back again.
what Chell can do here. Deagle. No connections. So a bit of a nothing round in the end, and so far turning into a bit of a nothing map for Rooster. It was looking so interesting at that 5-0 scoreline. You know, we got to talk a bit about the implications of the major qualification for SemperFi if they would struggle in this game, and now it's kind of just like, well, another day at the office for SemperFi.
Another rough map for ADK. In the Ground Zero game, the first map, he was phenomenal for Rooster. Well, the map that they won, he was phenomenal for Rooster. One of the better performers, but in the next two maps kind of went missing a little bit, and he's bringing that same level of form into today. Obviously, he has been a player that has been had mixed levels of activity, so maybe just a little bit rusty around the edges at the moment, but not the kind of performance you can rely on against a team like SemperFi. Chelios is trying to go aggro in towards the ramp room, get on that AWP line that can potentially give you some options as the CT side in terms of aggression, but quickly pushed away early on. Shady has taken some control of lowers in towards Secret. ADK goes overlooked though on the off angle, confidently challenging Addict and making good on that initial aggression.
Looking for info here on the CT side. Rooster clearing out outer. SemperFi have a lot of room to work with. A lot of territory down on that lower site. Not on the site itself, but positions to attack it. Shell's low. ADK is tucked in a corner. Probably a one-and-done type position. And now that he's been volleyed out, his position given away, he might not get the chance to really have much of a fight. Oh, and that's a bit of a jump scare for Chell. Still looking to try to find ADK. He is somehow surviving inside of this smoke, but eventually will fall. Skull, by the way, in that meanwhile, did get himself one, but I'm not sure that it's going to be quite enough to turn the tide just yet. That, though, might be. 24 seconds here for Keen to try to put together a round. He doesn't have the bomb. If he had, he might have been able to go up to A, but here, he's just got to fight, and he'll catch Juices out in no man's land. On for the ace now. Keen in the 1v5, essentially, but he needs to find the bomb, he needs to find the plant, or he needs to find the kill onto Skull. He will get the plant down just in time. Skull's going to have a look. Keen sits it. And now the question is, can he hit the shot? Which he doesn't quite, but he'll have another chance here. And Skull puts it down. Oh, it was close. But it's just a good effort from Keen. Not around, unfortunately.
He's just on another level tonight. ADK, I have no idea how this man lived for so long. And Skull, it's another impact round from him. I mean, he's not, in terms of the KD, lighting the world on fire. But I feel like every time Skull has had a multi-frag, Rooster have been winning rounds tonight. He's won them what feels like at least half of their rounds so far this game. He's one of those impact players where I feel like the scoreline doesn't always tell the whole story.
I mean, very close to being in a 11-5 scoreline there if he pulls that one off. So, yeah, Rooster get themselves one, but I'm not sure it's going to be too much to get excited about just yet.
One on ramp room.
Yeah. It's about all you can really expect from ADK when he's going to get swung by multiple members like that.
Yeah. I think they're trying to bully him a little bit. Got a two-man rotation down in lowers. Skull and, well, formerly Reckons. The man formerly known as Reckons that is now a corpse. Skull Hunter also picked up by Savage. The B bomb site has been flooded full of SemperFi members. And I think it's already going to be a save for Rooster. And this is one of the sad saves where you're staring down on a 6-11 deficit, knowing that you're not going to have a good buy next gun round.
Yeah.
Reflecting on what could have been this map when they were up 5-0.
Well, what can you do? Chell with an AWP and Juices with a rifle. they're both good players. They're both the kind of player that could kind of win around themselves, but just really haven't seen any of that pizzazz necessarily tonight for Rooster. They were, again, very good at the start of the map, but it's really slowed down significantly since then. And it kind of feels like a bit of an inevitability that we're going to a 1-0 scoreline for SemperFi.
Rooster going to hit that timeout button. It's one they don't dare touch very often. What to do in a situation like this? Do you play for 6 on the trot? I think you've got to take some risks. You've got to cut some corners somewhere as a team like Rooster in this position. So I think you definitely have to buy, or at least have some level of investment. It seems like they were kind of debating whether they wanted to buy down to 2k with Chelios dropping a hero rifle, or whether they wanted to go all in, and they have opted to really play for this game. Would take 2 good gun rounds, 1 in a row by Rooster, to break SemperFi's economy and actually put a foothold back on in. And SemperFi immediately off the back of that timeout get aggressive. Keen on that hut cross line, doesn't connect on the shot. And SemperFi will slow down now as the wall of smokes on outside go up.
A lot of util here to work with for Rooster. Pretty intelligent with what they've got.
Seems like SemperFi organizing themselves for some kind of uppers or ramps hit. Maybe an annex split with a couple of players hanging around in that vicinity. Another smoke to the door. Molly for Reckons, and Juice has still got a full belt of utility, so this upper site is pretty fortified. The question is if the timings are good here for the CTs.
Come on, not ideal. Or Juices.
Hello?
We have Reckons still up on the rafters. And the player up on top of Hut as well. Might not be expected, still will be cleared by Hazard. Might have thought that the extra number that site might have fooled SemperFi somewhat, and fortunately for Rooster, SemperFi not the kind of team to make those mistakes. It ends up being a pretty comfortable round in the end. 12-6. 1 round away from closing out map 1.
I mean, Keen is just smurfing. Freebie onto Juices there, and then a shot. Like, those aren't easy shots when you're coming out Hut as an AWPer into upper site with all of these angles uncleared. It should not look that easy, but that just really tells you what kind of level Keen's bringing to this server today.
I mean, it's hard to argue against 24 and 11, isn't it? Solid performance from him. Reckons forced out by the Molotov. Nothing he can do, and that might be the last round that he gets to play here on Nuke, because it is definitely heading in that direction.
Another pick for Keen. 80k. Look, he's been doing something at Ramp Room, but not enough to really keep Rooster in the game at this point. Group up towards Annex. Pressure on Skull. He's going to be necessitated another multi-frag. Juice is actually helping him out from heaven, so this gives the SemperFi pause for thought. Keen cleaned up in Hut. Rooster are clawing their way back into this round.
Yep, got that flank coming in through lobby as well. 80k would have been a concern, but a nice quick drop down the vent there from Hazard. He's going to get a plant on B. You got Shady able to make it across through outer as well to Secret and set up for this post plant, which again is not unwinnable for SemperFi. If they play their cards right, if they isolate 1 or 2 of these duels, Skull and Juices are both tagged up. Juice is very low. Skull's going to be the freebie that Shady is waiting for, that pulls it back into a 2-on-2, and now you've got those 2 Ts just playing in tandem here at Decon, waiting for the peek from Juices, which will be dealt with swiftly. 80k goes down as well, and it is expertly navigated. 13-6. SemperFi will close out map 1.
Yeah, Rooster, look, nice 5-0 start from them, but not quite enough at the end of the day, unfortunately, to be too competitive. Only 1 round in the next 14 is not really going to cut it, and I think SemperFi feeling very confident, and unfortunately it looks like we've got a similar game to the upper final on our hands.
Yeah. I mean, look, again, I was pretty interested, pretty excited for those first few rounds where I was thinking, hey, maybe Rooster might be able to give SemperFi a bit of a challenge here, but unfortunately, seems to have been anything but that. So, what can you really say about it? Unfortunately for Rooster, they're going to have to go into their opponent's map pick and try to recover this series, which is not going to be an easy task considering how strong today the SemperFi lineup is looking. But we'll give them some time to figure things out as we head into the post-match break. We'll take 10-15 minutes and then be back with you guys again for map number 2 right after this. Welcome back on in. It is map time for number 2 of the series here between SemperFi and Rooster. We have ourselves a game. I don't know that it's anything too outrageous just yet, Pilsky. There was moments, maybe, where it looked like Rooster might be able to make this grand final interesting, but so far it has been very run-of-the-mill, and that leaves us with Rooster that needs to make a reverse sweep happen.
Yeah, I mean, the new pick was looking promising initially, but ended up backfiring. You had a 5-0 start for Rooster, followed up by the next 14 rounds, 13 of them going the way of SemperFi. So, pretty dominant stuff once they actually got their shit together a little bit more. Mirage being the pick of SemperFi, and it's been a pretty solid one for them. By far their highest win rate map and one of their highest reps as well. Rooster have only played it twice in recent memory, and one of those games was against SemperFi, where they got 13 forward. So hopefully they've learned a little bit of something for that game. Otherwise, I dare say this is probably going to be a pretty cut and dry grand final, similar to the last time these two teams played.
Yeah, look, I would tend to agree. I mean, that 13-4 is certainly weighing on my mind as well. Didn't really have any super outstanding performances from any of the Rooster players on that map, though. So, maybe someone can step up, have a good individual performance here today, and make a bit of a difference. Didn't really feel like we were getting that too much on Nuke. It just kind of feels as though this is a bit more of a formality of a grand final for SemperFi. And I guess, speaking about it in those terms, what's the implications of that then going forward? We know how important this sort of next sort of week or so period is going to be for SemperFi. So I think kind of nice to see them, if they do clear up this cup comfortably, with a bit of momentum going into that Gang Creek Cup, which will potentially be the make or break for the major for this SemperFi lineup. So again, yeah, maybe this grand final doesn't necessarily matter too much for them, but I think it's more about just making sure that they lock it down rather than whether or not they can lock it down, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a case of sort things out, get it done. We'll see whether or not they can do that in a minute. So we'll little step or two away from getting underway with this game. We've got to pause or something in the server there, Pilsky. But yeah, what's my point here really? I guess it's just about making sure things don't go wrong rather than try and have things go right, because things are going solidly enough for SemperFi at the moment. They just need to kind of keep on keeping on when it comes to these domestic competitions, and then hopefully take that momentum into the international setup in that Grand Prix Cup.
Yeah, absolutely, and that will be a much more challenging event for them. I think this one might be a little bit more of a warm-up against domestic competition, because it really is against some of the Asian competition where SemperFi does tend to struggle. Let's see if Rooster can change that narrative, though. CT side start for them here. And SemperFi going to one of their most tried and tested and repped out maps in the pool to close this series out nice and cleanly.
Nice and slow start, actually, to this round. SemperFi going to be having a bit of a look towards B. There's a fake happening on A at the moment, and it does seem to have drawn the rotation in. And not just that, but it's also getting quite a bit of damage done. Reckons on 1 HP, Skull is dead. All of the Rooster players are rotating their way over towards A. Meanwhile, Bomb Plant's gone down on B. They've kind of figured it out. Chell's the quickest one over there, but what's he going to do solo? Probably not a lot. Have to wait for the transition of his teammates, and unfortunately that is not going to go very nicely at all. Addict and Hazard, the dynamic duo, combining for a very nice pistol round there, and it will just be Juices left alive here in the 1v4, and he would have to do something special with not a lot of time to do it in. Savage will run at him, finish off the pistol. SemperFi underway here on map 2.
Yeah, went exactly how they would have wanted it to. A little bit of pressure on A, pulls the rotations away, and then two players sneak into B and get themselves into a post plant. With all of those players active all over the map, just so many hurdles that Rooster have to jump over. So many angles that they have to clear. Reckons himself a fair bit of money here. Actually, he's been given a hero Famous by ADK. Window smoke has been missed, and he is going to fight Keen on the line initially. So it's going to read as a force buy now, I think, for SemperFi, having seen that Famous. when in reality it is just a save with one hero rifle.
Pace in mid. Taking a lot of that space. It's going to have to be collected on the way through here for Savage. I think they'll probably end up towards B. It's just hit up short. This position from Attic, though, may change things up. We'll see what he can get done from jungle. Still got that bomb working over towards the B site, and so I think Addict here will maybe just be a stab in the back. He's hearing a lot of the footsteps. He'll be aware there's a player or two waiting for him. 1-for-1. Not quite going to be enough to trouble SemperFi here, as Savage and Shady will push their way forward towards the B bomb site. One X Factor will be Addict, who's able to get himself one with the USP, but likely to get too much more done. Galil may help out. A nice bit of damage onto Savage, but no kill. 2-0. SemperFi underway very, very nicely, actually.
At a moment where you had the 1-for-1 in Murder Hall there from Reckons, but no CT was close enough to really get their hands on that rifle. So after the hero purchase, both ADK and Reckons looking a little bit worse for wear in this round. In fact, ADK is saving into round 3. Might be playing the long game to buy Chell and AWP later on in the half, perhaps.
5-7 can get a bit of work done, that's for sure. But in a round like this one, where again SemperFi are prioritizing middle, 5-7 may not come into play. ADK just jumps on B and having a grand old time as his teammate Reckons. Get some work done in mid. Savage goes down as well, so not the start to this round that SemperFi was looking for.
Nice stick from Chell, followed up well by Skull. Everyone on Rooster is shooting. Addict does find himself the bomb on a bit of a scavenging mission and continues applying a little bit more util pressure to that A site, but that's going to be it for the A exchange. Keen now trying to step into the limelight. Spotted out on the market cross, takes a big amount of HP away from ADK, who gives him a second chance. That's kind of bait him into Juice's line, though. Not sure if that was intentional or not, but ends out working out the better for Rooster, who look like they're going to get through this first gun round with flying colors. And ADK might even get his hands on a rifle.
Addict can get a little bit more damage out before he goes down. I don't think it's a question of winning this round at this point. Oh! Shell's lucky to be alive. Juices gets the job done. 5 guns through, though. That's exactly what Rooster needs.
It's a good start. Record's even upgrading the FAMAS. ADK ends up with her Galil, but that's not the worst thing in the world. Better than the 5-7 he was wielding last round. And SemperFi now into a buy in round 4, but it's not a particularly great looking one. A hero AK on Keen, MP5 for Hazard, and then techies in armor. Got 2 flashes. A lot of the util invested right at the start of the round here. Flash over A ramp and 2 smokes into middle. Keen gets pushed away with that hero AK, so he was very much looking for an opening pick, but he's denied and will now regroup with the rest of the team.
They've been able to walk their way out into mid here, SemperFi, but don't really have that much punching power unless Keen can get it done with this AK. To be fair, he is the kind of guy that can put in a shift, whether it's with the AK or with the orb. Smoke to douse the Molotov, but a lot of damage done to Skull Hunter with that spam. You've got a player getting boosted up into window, and Juices swifts his insend. That'll be a little bit awkward for him. And all this meanwhile, Addict is getting in behind. He's found himself one. Keen another. Reckons is stuck in the corner. Can't get anything done. Takes a little while for that MP5 to calibrate, but job done. Bomb plant is going to be on offer here. SemperFi on the A site, and Keen is still alive with that AK in hand, and he's full HP as well.
Yeah, and he is really the danger man in this round. Cleans up the 2-on-2 so easily. 3 overall. A round where SemperFi didn't have a lot in play, but when the most dangerous man has an AK in hand, that's probably all you need.
just comes alive late in the round. Very nice stuff. Instant attack timeout for Rooster. So I guess not really going to plan. They've got themselves a bye round.
It's another round that comes down quite closely. A real chance at either one of these teams getting reset pretty hard early on in the game. Usually takes quite a little bit of time to get a timeout out of Rooster, but I think in an important round like this one, it is good to kind of talk things through. I think Rooster will be the team to benefit from that a little bit more than SemperFi because, you know, we've got, what, 17 reps on this map in the last 3 months or something like that for SemperFi. Like, they already know what they're going to do. I think at this point, past some tactical adaptations, if things start going super wrong, a timeout is only really going to benefit Rooster to get a bit more organized.
Full rifle set up for SemperFi. No funny business with the AWP. And again, Keen living up to his usual behavior, and that is, again, very much trying to get into the thick of it. Always want to be on the front foot.
Flash into ladder here. Jesus has got his work cut out for him. Hazza and Attic chomping at the bit. Go and take a duel with him. He's going to clear ladder completely. Straight through the smoke is Hazza, and he doubles up onto Juices. Really well worked from him. 80k cleaned up by Keen after picking one in B apartments. So that exchange has gone quite well for SemperFi as they take control of B.
They're just playing off each other so nicely. Spacing, great. One trade after another. All that's needed to get into that B site. And unfortunately, not much to really write home about for Rooster. Should be another save here for Skull and Reckons. At the very lowest, Skull's been able to pick up that AWP, but I mean, has Chell even really had the chance to fire a bullet so far with it in this map? I don't feel like he has. So for all the good that AWP is doing,
SemperFi winning this early exchange, another early swing round. I mean, you get out of it with an AWP and an M4, but it's still not a particularly great feeling. 2.5k loss. Unless you want to drop some Thermoses over, you're probably just saving the pistols around these two weapons. Wasn't a terrible exchange. I think Hazza really put them over the top there. He got a spam onto the A player straight through the con smoke, completely blind. And then trades that ladder kill. Hazza really making the difference in that round.
you need. And SemperFi have a number of players that can do that in these domestic matchups. Just been the issue of converting that into international success that has been the undoing of this SemperFi roster. Hazard this time will be on the receiving end of a bit of spam of his own through the smoke, so it's gone a bit pear-shaped for SemperFi to kick off round number 6.
Both of the saved weapons find opening kills here for Rooster, so this has worked out great. This is not even a full investment from them into this round. There's still a couple of Roosters in play. Skull found topside connector. This is where a round that has started so promisingly could quickly fall apart, but that's a key kill for Juices, and Reckons has gone ballistic top connector. 3k for him to win a round that didn't look too convincing going into it from Rooster. And now SemperFi, their economy is looking a little worse for wear.
I'm sure they're the kind of team that can get a lot done with a little. Let's see what they can cook here first. Got an AWP out for Keen, which is a differentiating factor to some of the previous rounds, first of all. And an AK with a contingent of Tech 9s behind it would still flood onto a site.
See, the AWP was in ramp here, maybe looking for a pick on the cross, trying to go for the tower boost. AWP confirmed by the flash. So Rooster now aware that that is in play. What's left in this round? You got about 1 execute's worth of utility. Last time they went towards middle in the mid-round with a similar looking buy to this, but this time it is going to be a B-pop. 80k jump spotting, has a smoke for safety, and Chelios with the second contact from short side. If the flash coverage isn't good, he could be on for a couple here.
Very aware of 80k's position, though. They've heard him. Ollie's going to go into Van. So he'll just drop himself a smoke to try to play around. There's a tag onto Hazard from the AWP, which will make for short work for 80k. SemperFi are out onto the site, and they will actually be afforded a plan here if they want it. They're still holding for the flood. They're concerned about Rooster pushing their way back into the site. That flash the face of Reckons. Attic deals with Attic. 80k, I should say. And it's now a 4-on-2, which all of a sudden kind of blows up in the face a little bit of Rooster. It's a very tough ask to make a retake happen here for these remaining two members, and unfortunately, they're going to have to go slinking away and save the weaponry. And kind of what I'm talking about, Pilsky. You know, you can get a lot done with a little if you just hit a nice timing, get a nice entry here or there with the AK or with one of the Tech 9s. You overwhelm that site, and all of a sudden you've got yourself around, and it's going to be a 5-2 lead now for SemperFi.
Record's going to take a few away at the end of the round. Quite sharp this game. Him and Juices have definitely been the standouts. I mean, it wasn't even particularly a bad start for Rooster. You had that one player diving MPK that got picked off, and they're in a 5v4. I just felt like the issue lies in the fact that they try to force the low percentage part of this retake. They're trying to make their way out market door. I think, honestly, if you play a little bit more patiently on market side, or even kind of reconfigure the rotates with a short jump and try to more heavily retake through short, they might have had a better time of things there. It felt like they tried to kind of force their way through one of the more annoying parts of the map to make a retake work, despite the fact that they did have a pretty decent advantage there.
Addict will be saved by Hazard. Oh, the nade. Just go sailing a little too far to cause too many problems. And again, that flood from SemperFi is looking good on the A site. Taking all the space they need. Savage is kind of interested in even making his way a little deeper into CT spawn. He's alone for now. Holds off and waits for a teammate to join him, but that expedition, unnecessary.
It's another retake that feels very uncomfortable for Rooster. Too many angles for them to deal with, and time is ticking lower and lower. The delaying utility is so oppressive from the T side that the CTs can't even get out of connector, so he's going to turn away and save. Being given an opportunity there. 80k, a full belt to util and a rifle is something he'd love to hold on to into the next round, and he'll be allowed to. The money is not good here for SemperFi. They just want to maintain the rifles that they have, but have they made it far enough away from the bomb to survive? Yeah, actually. Really well done. So 9 surviving in the server after the bomb explodes. Not something you see too often. Especially on this map. Like Inferno, fair enough. There's some maps where you go into instant saves, but Mirage is not usually one of them.
Just tough to out the office, I suppose, for Rooster. Taking whatever they can get out of some of these rounds. Unfortunately, it's not a lot. Again, quite a bit of mid-util out from SemperFi to start this round off, but not really committing to it with the majority of their forces. Keen boldly will push through the progression smoke. And he almost finds a time. He does, in fact. Actually, a Skull looked to be trying to transition back towards CT spawn there. Will get caught off. Shady as well, another one. You're just losing players all over the map at the start of the round. This is very tough to handle for Rooster.
Chell getting burnt a little bit over on jungle side. Smoked off now. Trying to spam his way through, but Hazard sends his ragdoll flying there. Bit of a clothesline from the side. Juices all alone on short. Bomb hasn't even gone down. This is just such a scrappy round, but you can see all of the CTs, despite the fact that they were somewhat in the neck of the woods to fight that A site, they all fall. And Juices trying to hold on to the AK and armor. SemperFi are in hot pursuit. But again, it's another one of these situations where the team money is still not outstanding. I don't think losing this rifle would trouble Rooster as much as you would expect.
They are going to lose it. You're right. They'll still be able to put together a buy. Skull might have to go down to something a little less exciting. I mean, I think in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't seem like it really matters what guns are in the hands of Rooster at the moment. SemperFi are kind of clowning on them right now on this T side.
Yeah. You can see just how much depth they have. Like, Keen is so dynamic with where he can look for opening picks. Being a very difficult prospect for Rooster to deal with. Like, it just feels like this man gets onto an AWP line and has so many opportunities to find picks. Put down by Chelios, though. Some swift movement up over the top. HE breaks the top middle smoke, but the molly will force Chell away. He's happy with what he's found. Man advantage going the way of Rooster, but they still need to convert.
Easier said than done, I would suspect, Pilski.
Alex just been left bottom connector to continue applying pressure. The util denying any info about what SemperFi's intentions are in middle. Alex mollied himself. But still, that's something to concern SemperFi. Or rather, Rooster, as SemperFi regroup towards a ramp here.
Skull Hunter in a good spot to get himself a freebie. It's a very tough angle to clear. He does well to respond, and Hazard gets one as well, so by the fact that they've lost Addict, they are starting to get a bit of control on this site, and with that, they will be able to get a plant down. And from here, maybe there's a chance of putting something together. A 2v3, low HP for both Shady and Hazard, so they're going to have to take a bit of a risk, and it's Hazard that's doing that to try to clear out the CT spawn. He thinks he has, and that will prove to be incorrect as Chell has come back on the line, but meanwhile, Shady's got himself a duel onto ADK, and Hazard's beaten Chelios in the 1v1 as well. This is where it all falls apart. Time now of the essence for Reckons. The grenade not going to go deep enough. Hazard baited into the peak, but has Reckons got time for the defuse? He thinks he does. I think he does. And that will be Rooster to get the round. 7-3, though. It came way too close.
Another outstanding individual round from Reckons. There was some pretty clown utility in this round, though. Addict mollies himself. Skull pulls a nade out when someone's peeking him. Shady fails the top corn molly. Just Australian things, I suppose.
Not a lot happening at the start of this round that we haven't seen before. Once again, it is SemperFi out into mid. It's been pretty standard fare as far as their game plan on this T side is concerned.
More of a passive line from Chell. Or you could have put your house on him hitting that. It's a bit uncharacteristic. Shady given a freebie.
Nice kill from Hazard. B-site cracked open. Not much that Reckons can really do about it. He's deleted. Oh. That's a sharp shot. So back to square one again. I mean, SemperFi really fighting for a 9th at this point.
It's a round that backfires in an instant. I feel like SemperFi have just been given way too much space in mid in a lot of these rounds. You haven't seen that many mid crunches from Rooster. On this CT side, they're playing quite a standard game. The only times where Rooster have really troubled SemperFi all that much coming up middle is when Reckons got a nice spam and followed up with a couple more. But that was more of an individual play than Rooster doing anything special to deal with SemperFi's approach at the moment.
Terrorists win.
Two guns through. It's going to help them in this final round of the half. Fortunate for Chell. Missed opportunity, certainly, but again, how much of a difference would it make? to the round when the battering continues.
Shell down to an ump in this round. Vision obscured on the cross, had a chance. Had a pick on the A cross there. And in fact, SemperFi going to disrespect this A-Ram smoke. They've walked their way out onto Tetris. This could be a timing that is not very, very favorable for Skull Hunter on top stairs here. And indeed, he does get picked. Reckons still being a problem inside the middle. Juices is really not aware that A has just been wiped clean. Savage is in window. And ADK is the last man alive in underpass. And there's not much he could do. This is just bloodthirsty from SemperFi. Wide peeking everything. And they find themselves up 9-3 going into the halftime break.
Grand final here of the ESL Challenger League Oceania Cup number 2, and it's starting to feel like one of those movies you've seen before, right? You kind of know the ending. It's 9-3 in that first half there, and Rooster are not looking like they're going to be able to really muster a whole lot of a contest in this grand final.
Yeah, unfortunately not. You know, a lot of things would have to go right for them today for them to be able to be competitive with SemperFi, and unfortunately, this is not coming together. You've had some good individual performances. You even had a hot start on Nuke earlier on in the first map, which looked promising initially. I think the main standout at the moment in this map has been Reckons. He's won Rooster at least a couple of rounds, won all of his opening duels, had a couple of multi-frags, even won a clutch. But that still wasn't enough to get Rooster more than 3 rounds. So, look, unless you have a pretty big, swift turnaround here, this is going to be SemperFi, I would say, leisurely collecting 6 VRS points or whatever it is. But more so just avoiding losing, you know, 20, 30 points.
Yep.
Getting upset by an underdog when you're getting very close to the end of the race for the major.
Yeah, it is 6 points that they're going to gain, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but, you know, I guess it's better than losing points. And again, those 6 points may be pivotal later on down the track. We'll kind of find all that out in over a week's time. I believe the cutoff is April 6th, so about a week and a half from here. But there's still a lot more Counter-Strike to play over that next week and a half that will be very, very relevant for a team like SemperFi. For now, though, they've got to focus on finishing off this grand final, and they're in a good spot to do so. This round win here in the second half would pretty much have it wrapped up nice and tight. We'll see if Rooster can find a way to play spoiler on this T side.
A lot of players out into middle here. We have a Deagle. I swear I heard a Deagle on the decoy. Am I going insane?
No, I think they did buy a Deagle, throw a decoy, sell, refund the Deagle, and buy whatever else.
That's crazy. I've never seen that before. Shady's started off well, though. Reckons dealt with over on Shelf, and he has been by far the biggest standout for Rooster, so someone else is going to have to step up and do something. Duel over on A main doesn't seem to be going well for Chelios, and in fact, ADK unable to trade as well. So 2 on 5 for Juices and Skull. At least has been started half decently. And look, Skull, he's up Savage in window now. They know where Keen is, but can they deal with him? Even on 13 HP, he's a bit of a menace right now.
Yeah, liable to just hit one shot and it be the head. Skull making a lot of noise as well. Should make for a bit of an easier job there for Keen. He's actually not too keen to take the fight. Skull's dropped himself a smoke. This is a very strange round. I mean, he knows obviously this is going to be a really tough ask. Trying to just disrupt things, make it a little bit weird. He can isolate a 1v1, which he does get onto Hazard. Keen waiting inside of that smoke. Might just be there to deny the bomb plant if Skull does opt to try and go for it. But he's getting a few opportunities against Addict in the sandwich. I mean, God, what am I supposed to do with this round? Just kill him. End it. Let the pain be over. Nice round, though, from Keen. 4 kills. 10 on the board for SemperFi.
Keen just feels like a raid boss right now. One of many multi-frags he's had tonight. No bomb plant for Rooster. They're going to try to go for Broke here. Techies and a Galil. Not much to write home about, really. A couple of SMGs in the mix. In fact, Keen has done well enough in that pistol to earn himself an AWP in round 14. Got 5 flashes here, so the flash coverage should be decent enough. The main point is, though, that you're not expecting to play against an AWP in a round like this, and if you're a little bit too loosey-goosey with the peaks, that could be problematic. However, if they hit some entries into B and the AWP is forced into a retake, then that could actually work for Rooster.
Maybe. We have Hazard there with a fairly hefty belt of util, and Addict as well, who's holding on to the pieces himself. So far, so good. Hazard with the MP5 only going to be good for the 1. That leaves Addict in a bit of a spot of bother here. He's dealt with the player on short, reckons he's aware is close by as well, but he knows that he's got members that are going to be problematic behind, and so he gets caught between 2 mines. We'll decide where to watch. Now we find ourselves with that exact situation that you were talking about. Shady swinging on short will fall, and so will Savage. Reckons doubling down before he gets team flashed. It won't matter. There's nobody else there, and he might actually not quite get away with this AWP either. That has gone all wrong.
Look at Chelios. He's just like, wow.
I'll take that.
Thank you so much.
Keen has
a free AWP.
A bit of a habit of giving away the free AWPs. I saw him handing a few out at the defrag wildcard as well.
Look, he's just a upstanding guy, isn't he?
That's right.
You know, always on for an interview, likes to take care of himself, very well spoken, and of course, very charitable.
Yes.
Just a young bachelor for the ages. To give Rooster a chance, you know. It's one thing to just dominate the region, but it's another thing to, you know, help out the little guys, maybe make them feel like they can play Counter-Strike too from time to time. Unfortunately, Savage is not kind of along those same lines as he's taken the head off of Skull. That's going to be an AK given away to SemperFi.
Yeah, let's not count our chickens before they hatch. That will help, though. to the 4-on-4. So going to be a bit of a gamble here from SemperFi. They're going to give up the B site. Bring their forces across to A, which might prove to be the correct decision. You've got that rotation coming through from Rooster as well. Keen making a lot of noise. Savage with the Eagle gets himself one, but a good trade from Keen, and now he'll be able to have a look into A main as well. Get rid of Chelios. It's a 2v1 for ADK. Hazza not brought down to heal just yet. Gets out of dodge. Molly's not going to be there in time. 35 seconds for ADK to try and make a rotation back across to B by the looks of it.
Yeah, I love this. He knows he's made contact over there on A main, and he might have a timing to beat the CTs over to B. He's going to trust himself with the AWP here. Picked that up very intentionally, so I'd imagine this is going to be a B plant, and he'll try to post on a deep market line and try to put this into a 1v1 nice and early on. That goes down for short. Now SemperFi only just reacting to this. There's no kit in play. Oh, the wooden window hasn't been broken. He doesn't have as good of an angle as he usually would.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Good enough to pick up the first.
As they're going to go down. That was the freebie, though. Oh, good shot. Very well executed there from ADK. 10-5. Rooster coming alive a little bit here in the second half.
Shouldn't have been needed, though, to be fair. I mean, that was the most strugglesome round ever. ADK requiring a masterclass to dig Rooster out of a hole they should never have been in the first place. And he's broken on SemperFi now, but even if they take an eco, it does feel like they'll probably just get this game across the line at some point. I mean, that was, you know, very nice from ADK. He's doubled his kills off the back of that. But still does not really give you that much more hope that Rooster's going to win this map.
Not yet. But, you know, another couple of good rounds here from Rooster, and it might start to get a bit more interesting. Hefty stack on the A side here. Keen's going to go hunting with the P250, and well, gets a bit more than he would have liked to have out of that one. There's a cohort of Rooster players set up outside of A.
Reckons is putting himself together quite a nice game here.
Yeah.
Got more kills than 3 out of 5 of his teammates combined.
Over
Not
before
too
it
bad.
starts.
Yeah, I mean, cleaned up nicely by Rooster. 4 alive. Does kind of make up for the oopsie of the round previous to that.
Guns in the hand again for SemperFi, though. It's been a little bit haywire in the last few rounds. Getting back on track. So another tough one ahead here for Rooster.
Reckons put out top mid early on. I mean, Rooster pretty much spread out across the map as much as he possibly could be here. Chelios looking for the pick with the AWP. Savage gives him that opportunity, but not capitalized on. So Rooster will have to look for opportunities elsewhere.
There's one for Hazza. Bit of a
Gone very deep down apps there.
Indeed, more aggressive push out B and makes it work.
I like the aggression on the extremity there, and then the real big group towards middle. Keen punish for missing that shot. Now the swing comes out from 2 players bottom side con, and Chell able to take one of them. So still an okay exchange for Rooster. They haven't got a man advantage. Skull applying pressure to the B site now. You've got a weird exchange over on the A side of the map. ADK's in Palace, but you've got Savage taking A ramp in the meantime.
As is very concerned about short, as he should be. They've lost mid control. Get some help from Addict. And that fight over towards A went well for SemperFi too. So this round has gone from looking like a contestable one for Rooster to once again relying on Chelios pulling off a clutch.
He was kind of idling at top middle, hedging his bets. He was like, all right, which one of these guys is going to win the duel? Unfortunately, neither of them. Now with 12 seconds on the clock, there's not much for him to do. 11 up for SemperFi. And as soon as they got the guns in their hands, they immediately start dishing out the pain again.
Yeah, I mean, same sort of story on both maps where there's been a sort of brief moment where it's looked like Rooster have had something to say, but it's very quickly taken away from them. So, Rooster can contest this one. A decent contingent of weaponry. Be a bit of a mid-push out from SemperFi. The flash from Chell was a good one. It only ends up resulting in the 1 kill, though.
Or Keen punishing Skull for trying to take any kind of space created by Reckons earlier on in that round with the opening pick for the T side. As can be heard hopping around, throwing nades into apartments, but Juice is not feeling bold enough to take a duel with him. 80k going down on the A side of the map there, I believe. Or where was that? That might have been another pick in mid, actually. No, I think it was Palace that he tried to make a play out of, because both Skull and Reckons went down in middle.
Okay, that's something. Hazza. Oh. I want to be walking back onto that line, because that's exactly what's going to happen. The flash comes through too late. Poor coordination from SemperFi there. We'll leave Savage solo on A and Keen to defend B. Oh, I think he's heard that jump up in ladder room.
Yeah.
Yeah, so very aware of this push on short. Keen should be getting a freebie, but doesn't. Has to work a bit harder for it. Nice quick flick onto Chell. Very confident again, Keen, to take that second fight. But now that Savage has dropped in the 1v1, Keen's going to go and fall. And Rooster, hang on.
It's a reset round as well. SemperFi have had their money broken. Rooster will get a little closer now. Felt like a bit of a lackadaisical aggression on middle, didn't it? Maybe the efforts of a team that feel they've already won this grand final. So a late flash over the top of mid window, a lazy swing a little bit too early. And you can land yourself in a bit of a pickle.
Not over till it's over.
Yeah.
Okay. That'll do it. So a 5-on-4, but we're going to need a bit more out of Mr. Keen to defend this B bomb site. He is being pushed away by some util for now, and that allows the plan in for Rooster. But he'll set back up on the line and allow the rotation to come in from the rest of the SemperFi boys. They're going to filter their way out and flood their way in onto the site. Savage has an AK, which he's putting to good use. That's 80k down. Loose up there now as well. And here comes the push. SemperFi with numbers. Going to try and swarm their way onto the site. And they are finding some kills. Hazza, Keen, one apiece. It's all on the Skull. Solo against 2. And he'll be run down. So that nice clutch from Juicers at the back end of the last round will be all for naught. As the defuse goes through for SemperFi. And they will get themselves up to 12.
Another round 1 with pistols. A little bit too sloppy from Rooster. I mean, to be fair, starts off phenomenally from Keen, just taking Reckon's head off in middle. 8k picked up. Hazza hits a dig shot as well, and that is a recipe for success. I think Keen and Hazza have definitely been the standouts tonight. Shady's put in a bit of a shift. Last time these two teams played, it was Addict who had a crazy game. I mean, that has always been the thing about SemperFi, that outside of maybe Keen and Shady at times, I think the rifling core is always very inconsistent. So you have different players popping off all the time, which, look, domestically probably doesn't matter too much, but we'll see once they go into Asia if that's going to be a firepower problem or not.
Yeah. Shady up close and personal behind this smoke is spot 2. So only got a 5-7 to work with and had 4k in the bank. So not sure what's happening there, but hasn't played out too effectively in the hands of SemperFi.
Feels like they're not reaching the desired lock-in levels right now.
No.
Keen has pushed all the way through B-Apps with an AWP, though, somehow. It's going to allow them to lean quite heavily towards the A side of the map. Skull Hunter rounding the corner, picked up. I mean, how do you be ready to get AWP'd on that line? That is just unreal. That would be a desk slam if that was me.
Yeah. As I might need a bit of backup in a second. Let's have Savage there on the site with him, but once this smoke fades, Hazza will have multiple angles to watch, and he's doing a good job of that. Doubling down with that kill onto 80k. Himself tucked in under balcony, and a bit more damage there onto Juices, but more importantly, distracts him long enough for Addict to slide in for that frag. Will leave Reckons solo against 2, but hey, we've seen 2v1s before for Rooster. Why couldn't we see it again? Grenade might be a problem, or perhaps just the rifle of Addict to get it done. 13-7. It was somewhat of a valiant effort here in the second map for Rooster, but all things were pointing towards a SemperFi victory, and they have secured it once again in yet another cup of ESL Challenger League. They claim this grand final 2-0.
Yeah, congratulations. We'll join Thunder Down Under, their domestic rivals, in the season finals later on. And, of course, pick themselves up a juicy 6 VRS points. Incredible stuff from SemperFi, but more importantly, they don't lose any VRS points or too many VRS points as they head towards the end of the major cutoff that is coming around the corner very soon. So here is the bracket overall. Credit to Rooster for overcoming pretty much every dangerous-looking team in Oceania at the moment and doing it with great difficulty. They had to beat Arcade twice and Mind Freak in very close games and win a pretty scrappy game over Ground Zero to make it into this grand final. And for a team that didn't do particularly well in either one of the lands and has only recently been put together, I'm starting to see some degree of improvement. There's still quite a bit of individual inconsistency on this team. But you've seen promise from some of the individuals. Like if Reckons can put that kind of performance on Mirage together a little bit more consistently, I think Juices is always pretty good. And you get more impact from Skull. Chelios figures things out a bit more, then this could be a dangerous team going forward. And they've done quite well there to get themselves second place. $1,000 for them, $1,500 for SemperFi, and a juicy little spot in the finals there.
Yeah, most definitely. That spot in the finals will be something most of note, I'd say, for SemperFi, but of course still a lot more work to be done over the next week and a half for them. We'll, I guess, continue to follow that as they try to qualify for the upcoming major. Either way, though, that is Oceania done for the ESL Challenger League Cup number 2. We're taking a bit more of an extended break here, but there is going to be some more Counter-Strike for you guys tonight. Asia up next after this one. That'll be with Piuski and Konki over on the B stream. So another grand final for you guys to sink your teeth into if you're interested. From us now, though, on Oceania, we'll bid you good night and see you next time. You want to end up here as Rooster, and they're trying to enter the site with 10 seconds left on the clock. Surely this can't go well. It does, in fact. They find themselves a quick couple of kills, but Plant's going to be denied, and that is a very nice round in the end from Keen. Get the chance to really have much of a fight. Oh, and that's a bit of a jump scare for Chell. So look at Skull's going to be the freebie that Shady is waiting for that pulls it back into a 2-on-2, and now you've got those two Ts just playing in tandem here at Decon, waiting for the pick from Juices, which will be dealt with swiftly. 80k goes down as well.
He's got his work cut out for him. Hazza and Addict chomping at the bit. Go and take a duel with him. He's going to clear ladder completely. Straight through the smoke is Hazza, and he doubles up onto Juices. Really well worked from him.
Hunter in a good spot to get himself a freebie. Very tough angle to clear. He does well to respond, and Hazza gets one as well. So he's got members. We find ourselves with that exact situation that you were talking about. Shady swinging on short will fall. Got to have a look into A main as well. Get rid of Chelios. It's a 2v1 for 80k.
He doesn't have as good of an angle as he usually would.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Good enough to pick up the first.
As they're going to go down. That was the freebie though. Oh, good shot. Very well executed there from 80k. SemperFi with numbers. Going to try and swarm their way onto the site. And they are finding some kills. Hazza, Keen, one apiece. It's all on the Skull. Solo against 2, and he'll be run down. So